10 tips, 10 days on self-love transformation, and this is tip number 4. Today, I want to focus on the emotional being. This is one that is very neglected by many people, myself included. As I was on a road to self-discovery and eventually self-love transformation, I realized that more and more I had so much healing to do within myself. I did a lot of my healing after my husband died, and the grief, the loss that I had experienced because of his death, I had pretty much resolved and had healed through that. But I was now on this path of self-discovery, like who was I after Frank? And I had to sit a lot in my emotions and really acknowledge where I was in my space as just Darlene, or just Dar without Frank. And many times I didn't like myself. I didn't like who I had become. I had to reflect back on who I used to be before Frank, who I was as a child growing up, and then what happened when I got married and became a mom and a wife, and then where I wanted my life to go as a widow, right? As just being by myself. And a lot of my emotional well-being was compromised or deficient, if you will, because I didn't like myself very much after Frank died. And I think a lot of that was because I relied on him to validate my worth. I relied on him to tell me that I was good enough, and that he was proud of me. And I was waiting for all of those acknowledgments and was used to them. And so after he died, I didn't get that anymore. And I lost a lot of confidence in myself. I didn't know if I could make it through life without him. And so my emotional well-being was very deficient, because I had to learn to sit in my emotions about me as a person, who I was, who I want to be, and where I am in that moment. And so as I help people through self-love transformation, as clients come to me and we talk about what's deficient in their life, most often it's the emotional well-being. And so a couple of tips for you as you are going through self-love transformation is, number 1, just acknowledge where you're at in your space. If you don't like yourself, that's okay. Acknowledge that and feel those emotions. If there's a lot of fear around moving through this discovery or rediscovery phase of your life, be okay with figuring out what those fears are, where they're coming from, and why you have them, so that you can lean in and overcome those fears. And be okay with looking inside yourself, not to other people for validation, looking inside yourself and really owning up to those feelings that you have about who you are. If you don't like where you're at, you can certainly do something about that. But before you can, don't dismiss what you feel or where you're at in that moment. You must feel it and go through it before you can heal from it, and before you can experience strengthening the emotional being of who you are, and then eventually get to the next step of self-love, and then the full transformation. So hopefully this will help you if you want to go deeper, or if you know that you're in a place where your emotional well-being is really deficient and you need help in healing from all of that. I invite you to direct message me and let me know. In fact, it is the emotional piece of self-love transformation that I actually work with my clients through the grief recovery method, because it's important to heal from those losses. And even if those losses mean that they're losses that include losses within yourself. So I invite you to direct message me. I always love to hear people's stories and just be able to be a heart with ears. So until next time, guys, take care. Self-love transformation, tip number 4.